Hi guys, and welcome to OG Cars. In today's video, you're joining us for the third episode in the fixing series for the Skoda Favorit Forum. And as you may have seen in the last video, we've actually got the head gasket all bolted down, and now we just need to refit everything that we basically removed in episode 1. So I'm not going to bore you too much with actually showing you everything, because obviously we've got some new stuff to go on. I don't want to show you that stuff. So what we're going to do to start with is take off our rocker cover. And this needs a really good clean. It needs a clean out on the inside, as you can see. And it needs a good, just scrub down, sort of wire brush on the outside, just because it's a little bit sort of pitted. It's that kind of style that doesn't like rust, but it gets sort of like this flaky stuff on top, which you just need to clean off. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It just needs a good clean out. And the gasket actually looks okay. So what I'm going to do is just clean that up. I would recommend using a new gasket. I thought I had a new one. I don't actually. Obviously, they're super easy to change if they do leak, because they're literally just 2 nuts on the top and they pop off. So if it does leak, I'll be changing it straight away with one I order online anyway. But for now, what we're going to do is clean this up and use that. The other thing that I have to do is clean up this, because obviously we took off the air cleaner and you can actually see the water splitting from the oil now, but ultimately there is a horrible mix and the dipstick needs to be clean as well, so I've just chucked that in there. So I'm going to take all of these items outside now. I'm going to give them a good scrub, good wash, and a really good dry as well. If you've got brake cleaner, I'd recommend something like that for the rocker cover. Unfortunately, I've actually just run out, so unfortunately I don't have any brake cleaner to finish it off with. I'd definitely recommend it though, because you can sort of clean off the top of this. And everything you're doing on this job, you can actually use brake cleaner just to help clean surfaces up, especially when doing a head gasket as well. So obviously we made sure our surfaces were clean, but I do need to just clean over the rocker. To be fair, it's actually not covered in stuff like this is, but I'm just going to give it just a quick wipe over. It looks okay, but ultimately we will be doing an oil and coolant change anyway. So let's get to work on cleaning these and reconvene. So you join me now with some clean parts. I've just popped the rocker cover back on. Obviously we do need to set the valve timing, but what I'm going to do is actually run the car up with the current oil in first, once everything's back together. Just 1, to make sure it all works, and 2, to get the oil a bit warmer, so that when we drain it, we can be sure that everything is flushed as well as possible, and then we can refill with new oil and do an oil filter. And then what I'll do is I'll do the valve timing then, because everything would have settled very slightly. So obviously you don't want to run it for too long, because I have, everything is in the same place, but I have ultimately unsettled it. So I will do the valve timing as per the Haynes manual over there. There are feeler gauge settings, obviously, because you want a certain amount of gap. Anyway, we'll look at that later. So basically what I'm going to do now is just bolt everything back on. All the pipes that you saw me remove in the first video, I'm going to be that excited to see me do back up. So I'm just going to put all the pipes back on, everything to the car back up, the exhaust back on with another gasket, and yeah, basically just set the fuel, get the intake back on, and then we're going to be at a point where we've got a few new things to go on. So we'll cut to there. Okay, so that's most of it back together. We've got sort of like the fuel in and out. We've got all of the bits sort of attached to the inlet and exhaust manifold back together, including the pipes around here. Obviously the radiator needs to go in, and the pipes to the radiator, which I haven't bothered with yet. The intake still needs to go on as well. I've got here the rotor arm, which I've just quickly cleaned up the end on, just because it was a little bit dirty. So I've just got to check which way it goes round. There we are. There we are, back on there. And just to show you guys, we've got some new spark plugs as well. I think they were about a tenner on eBay for a set of 4 champion ones. So what we'll do is we'll get in here, just make sure they're the right ones, and then we'll get those fitted. So let's have a quick look. Yeah, so they are the same, exactly the same in style. I think the old ones were, the old ones are actually champion RC7 YCCs anyway. So yeah, all the same. So all I need to do is just take the ends off of these, because it looks like if I go over to the HT leads here, which obviously is attached to our distributor cap, which I just need to give a quick clean off, but it looks fine. If I imagine if I try and put this in here, no, it won't actually quite go. So we've only got a small opening there, which means we need to take these off. So I'm just going to grab some pliers now, take the ends of these off, and then we'll get all 4 spark plugs into those spark plug holes. Okay, so I've just started the left 3 and just putting the last spark plug in the right hand cylinder. So you get them started by hand first, don't want to cross thread them. And then once they're started most of the way, you get your ratchet and socket in there, stick it at the end, and just do each of those spark plugs up. Apologies if you can only see my arm. Right, so with all of those nipped up and checked, all we've got to do now is plop in our distributor cap and HT leads. So this side we've got 2 clips. I'm just going to pull them out on the distributor side. Just make sure we get it, there we are, to a point where it doesn't want to jingle around. And then just go to it, both of these clips. Admittedly, this one is so close to the head, it's a bit of a pain. And now it's come off everything. There we are, right, so we just need to get that clip on. There we are, right. Both clips on in the right place. Just put our kingpin lead on, just so we know that that's all done. And then what we want to do, so obviously these are pretty much, as you can see, in order from closest to furthest away, so we just want to connect them up in that order even. Obviously if you are removing and replacing anything, I would recommend taking note of which way certain things go so you don't get lost, because otherwise it won't be firing quite right. There's this little clip here onto the fuel pipe which holds the HT lead number 3 and 4 on this particular model, it seems, so we've got those clipped on as well. So that is the ignition side all done, and I think our fuel side's all done. So let's get our air intake side done next, and then we'll do cooling afterwards. Okay, so here we are with the air intake, which is a little bit cleaner, not covered in mayo. And we just want it to sit over the carb like so, and just want it to fit everywhere. So we've got this pipe over the left on the end, we've got an exhaust heat pipe, we've got the stud here of course as well, and there's this breather pipe too. So there's lots going on. So let's just see if we can sit it everywhere. So that's the exhaust pipe in, and the bush for the stud is on ish. It's just popped out. Let's put this side in first, the proper intake. That should get it sitting where it needs to be. Yeah, that looks a bit better. So now what we need to do is just do up this side, and then we've got the there's a metal plate which goes to the top of here, which you bolt to these 3 studs as well, which I think is either 8 or 10 mil. So let's just go and bolt all of this up now. Okay, so I've just done up the 10 mil here. So I'm just going to swap sockets to the 8 mil. This little plate I've just put back on. There's 3 nuts holding it on. I managed to throw one of them down the carb, so I've just retrieved that, because you really don't want that upsetting your fuel flow, or rather it destroying your engine either. To be fair, I don't think it would fit all the way down, but you know what, we're not going to try and find out, because an 8 mil nut isn't going to do much good for a combustion chamber if it does make it down there. They don't have to be amazingly tightly locked up. I think they're I'll remember the name for the nuts at some point, but they've got that blue ring at the top which holds them in. I used to remember things like this, but I'm getting old and forgetting everything. So just go and make sure these 3 are tight, and then what we've got is a new air filter to go in, so we'll grab that next. Here we are, a new air filter, considering the last one looked semi-recent but had been covered in mayo. We're going to go for this new one, which G bought ages ago for another car, I think. So I'm just going to pop it into here, like so. And I remembered they're called nylock nuts, I believe. So they're not as likely to undo themselves. If I grab the top of the cleaner now, and speaking of the top of the cleaner, there is still a little bit of mayo there, so we're just going to give that a quick wipe, just because I don't want that contaminating our new air filter already. There we are. What I'm going to do is try and remember which way it goes round. If you're clever, then you'll probably look before. But now I'm just going to try each point until it makes sense. I'm sure there's an easy way of doing this as well, but there we are. We'll figure it out eventually. There we are, that sort of lines up now. So that looks like it's roughly in the right place. And you've got to snap clips all the way around, and then you've got a set of nuts that go on afterwards. And I've thrown away my 10mm socket, so I'll have to go grab that. Just do these up, not too tight, otherwise I'll pull the studs out of the air intake. Got 10mm on here. Perhaps it's a bit overkill, but that's fine. So what I've done here now, because I want this side to be symmetrical to the other side, as you may have known, we had a broken riv nut here. So I've just removed the other one, and what we're going to do, the original bolt size is a 10mm, but I have these spare, I believe they're 13mm bolts, and they have, wherever I put them, a series of nuts and washers. So what I'm going to do is, these two here, I'm going to feed the bolt through, obviously with a washer this side, and then I'm going to put the radiator in, and I'm going to put the washer and nut on the other side. Obviously this means you do have to remove the grill if you want to do the radiator, but ultimately it's new, it shouldn't need replacing for a long time, and the riv nuts are terrible anyway and always break. So with that said, let's get the radiator in now. So you join us for the radiator fitting this side. Now what I'm going to do is just pop our series of bolts and nuts up here where I can safely lose them. Now grab our radiator assembly with the fan. Obviously we want it to go this way around, so the fan is pulling through. And we've got our rubber pieces at the bottom, so probably should have done this before the HT leads, but there we are. Right, so there's a couple of points on the bottom which just line up with those rubber pieces, so I'm just lining those up now. Just get that pipe out of the way so it actually goes there. And there we are, simple as that. It's just sitting on those bushes now at the bottom. So what I need to do now is push it to, he says, is that still on the, yeah, that's still on the rubber piece. So I need to push it across slightly just so I can open up those holes, which are now perfectly aligned. So it should stay there of its own accord because it's on those bushes and it's sort of like towards the front. So I've got a bolt and nut with washers even. So bolt and washer this side, in here, all the way through, and then on the other side I'm just putting the nut on with the washer first, of course. And there should be plenty of room behind the grill for the end of the bolt to fit. But obviously you can fit it the other way if you want, it doesn't make a difference. So let's just get the other side in, and then all we need to do is tighten it up, and then the grill and headlights can be all bolted back in. Okay. Full go on there. Just need a span. Okay, we've got 2 13s, and we're just going to net these up. So it's tightening. I'm just going to put 13 on the other side just to stop it turning. Just remain tight. Tight enough to stay there, like so. Now all I'm going to do is just connect up the same coolant hoses we had before. So we've got the top hose to the top here. We've got this hose which literally just goes there. This hose at the bottom left, which literally again just goes there. So I'll just tighten up the clips on them. And this here obviously is our fan switch. So I'm just going to connect the wire on the empty wire on the fan switch there, which goes to the loom. So that's connected as well. So I'm just going to connect up those jubilees, and I've got a jubilee to connect up on the air intake side, and then cooling and air intake is done. Right, so that's all of that connected up. The only thing left to connect from the radiator side is going to be this here earth, but the headlight is not in yet. So what I'm going to do now is just stick the grill on first, and I'll stick the headlights in. So I'll just quickly do that, and again we'll just reconvene. So that's the grill and headlights back in and tightened, and obviously on the cooling side we've got the earth wire attached to the headlight mount there. I've just double checked everything was tight, including this mount, which wasn't actually tight because I put the mount on. Basically I did a thermostat change before, which I should have done after, so I put the thermostat in, and obviously afterwards I just needed to put the 10mm bolt in the bottom with the fuel line mount attached to it. So that's done and all tight, and this here is all bolted up. Obviously this will have to come off when the rocker comes off to do the valve timing. So when it comes to that, we just knock these out, undo this, try and jiggle the rocker cover out the way and do the valve timing afterwards. But for now, everything's connected. We've got oil in there. We don't have any water, but we just want to see if it actually works first. So let's see if we can get the key and see if we can crank it over. Right, so we have the key. Obviously, when we start this, we do not want to start it for too long because there's no water in it yet. But what I want to do is just make sure it works first. It's a bit too late now to be wanting to do like a coolant flush and oil and filter service. So what I'm going to do is just try this first, make sure it works. And assuming it does, we'll reconvene for an episode 4 when we do the oil and filter and coolant flush. So let's just see if she goes now. So everyone, with that working, what we will do is reconvene for an episode 4 where we are going to fill up with, I say coolant, we'll probably just go do water first because we still want to do a little bit of a flush, or fill it up with water, get up on the drive at some point because it needs a really good clean. And then what we can do is we can flush the coolant, and we will do an oil and filter change before it comes out the garage as well. So we'll do that in the next video. Thanks for watching everyone. Like, comment and subscribe, and we shall see you all in the next one.